Hi, Todd Thalimer here from the Thalimer Observatory in Elizabeth, Colorado, and today we're doing Thalimer Observatory Presents Becoming a Stargazer. So we have three big questions we want to talk about. Why do you want to do it? What do you need to get started? And what will you see, which is the big question everyone wants to know. So why do you want to do it? Well, only you can answer that question. I know I've been enthusiastic in the hobby ever since I saw Halley's comet in a telescope in the mid-1980s. I got my first telescope and I saw Saturn and I was totally hooked on the hobby. Couldn't tear me away, buying bigger and bigger telescopes every couple years. But you know, it's also the final frontier really to explore that we've barely even scratched the surface of. And there's so much that we need to know. Maybe we'll learn about the life, the universe, and everything out there. So just the unknown is what really draws me and a lot of other people to the hobby. So what do you need to get started? Well, most important thing, be your eyes. You can do this hobby with just your eyes. And that's where we kind of start. We talk about the first step would be visual observing. You get a nice summer evening, lay on your back, look up at the stars. You're going to see stars, you're going to see constellations, you're going to see planets, the moon, comets, meteor showers. If you're in a dark enough spot, you may even see the Milky Way. Lots of cool stuff to see just with your eyes. So that's pretty cool. If you get a little more further into it, you can get something called a planisphere. There's also free software. This will help you find things in the sky. Very helpful. So moving on from there, your next step would be something called star hopping. Now, star hopping allows us to start moving around the sky, finding things a little easier, maybe with or without a planisphere. And it allows us to start finding those things that we call fuzzies or deep sky objects, things like nebulas, galaxies, star clusters, really cool stuff like that. The next step up would be to use binoculars. It's something I haven't really experimented a lot with in astronomy personally. But a lot of people love this, and you can affix a lot of binoculars you can affix a tripod to or a monopod to basically study it. But it's your first step in magnifying the sky. You'll be able to see, especially the star clusters, open clusters and globular clusters, a lot better with binoculars because you're going to be magnifying the sky a little bit. Planets not so much. You're going to need a telescope for that. Comets maybe are pretty good. Meteor showers, no, you're going to need just your own eyes laying on your back for that is the best thing. So moving up from binoculars, your next step is going to be a telescope. So most people see the telescope we have here in the Thalimer Observatory, and it's a pretty big telescope. And they want to start there, and that's a big learning curve. Now, telescopes have a huge range. There's a lot of different types, a lot of different sizes, and therefore a lot of different prices. So, it's recommended really to start with kind of checking out the sky with your own eyes before you invest in a telescope. And you know, you can even go the route of building your own telescope, but it really depends on what you want to see. Depends on what type of telescope you buy, and of course what price you'll pay. The more advanced your telescope, of course, the better stuff you're going to be able to see, or better resolution, brighter resolution. So telescope is kind of the last big step that you would take in this hobby. From a telescope, we can see, you know, basically anything. We can see these globular clusters, we can see the open clusters, we can see planets very well. We can see the nebulas and the galaxies as well, though those are harder to see. And that has to do with how our eye is constructed. So remember, these things are really dim, they're really, really far away. And as such, your eye really needs to be able to gather a lot of information. And so if you remember from school, our eyes are constructed of rods and cones. Now, cones are the part of your eye that sees a lot of the visual spectrum. It sees those Roy G. Biv visual stuff. It figures out what the color is, and really makes a lot of what you see. Now, the rods are the parts of your eye that are differentiating those really low light aspects, the things that we're looking up in the sky that are really, really dim. Now, you have a lot of those rods, but they have to work together with the cones, and because those things aren't very bright, the objects you're looking at aren't very bright, that's why you have a really hard time resolving what you see in a telescope. When you're looking at some of these things that you see that have a lot of color, like nebulas and galaxies, you will not see that in a telescope. They'll look like a very bright grayish cloud, which is really cool still to see with your eyes. So just know that you're not going to be seeing stuff like the Hubble Space Telescope. Now, the Hubble Space Telescope has been awesome at opening a lot of people's eyes and minds to what's out there and how beautiful the universe is. But just know that your telescope's not the Hubble Space Telescope, and you won't see things like that with your telescope or with your eyes. Now, if you want to get deeper into the hobby, of course you get bigger telescopes and faster telescopes and get to darker skies. But you will not see these things with your own eyes unless you begin doing astrophotography, which is something we do here at the observatory. And the photography will allow a camera to basically act as your eye and be receptive to those photons a lot more than your eye is. And so we take very long exposures and we capture those colors, things that your eye cannot do. So that's a little bit about becoming a stargazer. I hope that helps you get started in figuring out some of the questions that we had and your answers to them. Thank you very much. This is Todd Thalimer signing off from the Thalimer Observatory.